Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Project Cars 2, welcome to Monaco-ish, and welcome to what I can only describe as Deathball 2000. I am driving a Formula Renault 2.5 car, there we go, the number one car. I've already killed someone. Yeah. One of my favourite videos I did on the channel was where I threw a load of open wheelers in Project Cars 1 into Monaco to see what would happen. And the AI were being stupid. I've just realised that the map isn't working here, so let me turn off the map. Can I just have the overview, please? Oh, I have to have the interface if I want to. Okay, never mind. I decided to do the same thing here, so I set up a multi-class race under open wheeler rules, which meant that the game just threw in all of the open wheelers, and funnily enough, most of them don't actually race anymore. And what happened was ridiculous. To be very blunt, most of the cars that were racing would have been disqualified after probably about 5 laps. Including me. I've somehow got a front wing again, I've just noticed. I lost the front wing at the first corner and got it back somehow. This was the first spin. The engine died, so I had to get the engine restarted, do a quick flick spin, and off I go again. Through the swimming pool chicane, I think? No, I don't know which one's which. Swimming pool complex, for sure. Up towards... I forgot the name of this corner, but it keeps catching me out. And onto Anthony Knows. I should really have like a track map of Monaco in front of me, but I don't, because I am disorganized as anything. It's, what, 10 o'clock at night and I'm recording this. This is a 20-minute race, by the way. 30 cars. In real life, this track had at most 25 or 26 cars, I think they did for one race only ever. Yeah, that corner just kept catching me out with braking, because it's an uphill braking that suddenly levels off. I will get better at that, and I will like stop blocking the tires up. So down towards the Lowe's hairpin, or the Grand Hotel hairpin as I think it is now. That hairpin has had so many different names. I keep calling it Lowe's because it's what I know is Lowe's. Into the tunnel, and you know, there's a lot of open space around me at the moment. It looks like, you know, oh, this is going to be a very boring race. Well, I wouldn't be recording this if it was. By the way, I am recording a replay because I tend to get angry at the AI, and you'll see why later. So I've decided to be safe about this and just record the replay, because at least this way, if I needed to restart, I could do it without you guys knowing. And I did actually had a different plan originally. Now, I did make a really stupid decision when I was setting this race up, which will come into play later. I accidentally had time acceleration on 30 times, or 50 I think, or something like that. Which means that there's going to be a good portion of this race taking place at night. So it gets interesting. So you get to see effectively a full day-night cycle. You get to see the time going through to night time, and you can see the shadows getting longer as I come through the Casino Square section of the track here. And you know, this is one of the few clear laps that I had, and I think I might actually run into this Lotus 79, I think it is, ahead of me. Looks like a Williams paint job, but it is, yeah, it's a Lotus 79. Yeah, the track gets a bit cluttered with 30 cars, most of which are super slow. And some of the cars that were racing were a lot faster than a Formula Renault. So it all kind of came down to who got stuck in traffic where, after a while. That Lotus kind of looks like a McLaren MP4. No, MP23? No, M23. The one that James Hunt drove in 1978. So, interesting little factoid. And yet, here's where the traffic begins. So I've rammed the Lotus. You can see there's a mix of Formula 1 cars. I've left my Steam overlay on, it doesn't matter. Mix of Formula 1 cars and old Formula 1 cars and a bit of everything on this racetrack at the moment. The Fanatec car looks like a European or a European Minardi, and it's behind what appears to be a Williams BMW era car in a bizarre Toyota paint job. There is, of course, Indy cars as well, because what race wouldn't be complete with an Indy car that I have just punted off the track completely. Coming up behind what I think is Ryan Hunter-Reay, I might be wrong, and they're all stuck behind a Formula Ford. So I just give it a bash, and the Indy car follows me through. Straight into another bunch of traffic that's also stuck behind, I think, another three Formula Fords this time. And I punt an AI and spin it out of the way because it was going too slowly for me. Lows is surprisingly easy in this game. It's just kind of lock the wheel as far as you can to the left. One of the few corners that I do have to twist the wheel beyond 180 degrees. Or beyond 90 for sure. And here's one of the great overtaking moves of this century as I overtake 5 cars and punt a Formula Ford all in one move. Then because the Formula X is stuck behind 2 Formula Fords, I just overtake the 3 of them at once. The Formula Fords, by the way, if you didn't guess, are being lapped at this point. On lap 2 or 3. Of course, a spin coming out of the swimming pool complex, it doesn't matter too much. You can see it's now evening time, by the way. And this is where it starts getting very interesting because we get open wheel formula racing at night. It was interesting to drive in these conditions, and it didn't dawn on me that it was getting darker until probably another lap or 2 from now, and it was starting to get actually quite dark. That Formula Ford tried to turn in on me, I've just noticed. What a git. Through, yep, drift. Is this the time that oh yeah, this is the time that I killed the engine here. Like a true genius. There is one spin where I just nailed the throttle and try to keep it going. Another spin turn. Deftly done by hitting the barriers, of course. Now I don't know where I am at this point in the race. Let's find out. I am currently in 15th. You can see me here. RAI. RainbowDave. 55 second. Am I second in class at the moment? Yes. Bro is in first in class. And you might have noticed that the lighting just suddenly changed. That was the change to nighttime lighting when all of the lights on the track get lit up. You can see that it's actually a pretty well lit track. I was pleasantly surprised as I locked my front right tire. Pleasantly surprised at how well lit this track was. Following up here now, we got a Formula Rookie with nobody stuck behind it, so clearly somebody had met it in a good place and got to overtake it pretty quickly. I unfortunately was not so lucky, so I ended up having to follow through these 2 turns, and then with a quick squirt of... oh no, I got stuck behind it here as well. What did I do to get around this one? I can't remember. I think I might have just waited till the main... yeah, I just waited till the main straight. Through the final corner, big squirt of acceleration, and I passed it pretty easily. You might notice, if you play Project Cars, that the Formula Renault has a DRS system that I haven't been using. That's because I've got my wheel bound up so that it's more for prototype cars. So I've got curves bound up and a pit limiter bound up, but no DRS button bound up. And I feel that it works best for me. Coming down the hill now towards... yeah, that's one of the worst lit places on the track. Luckily, all the corners and apexes are pretty well lit, so it's pretty easy to find your way through. Monaco at night in a Formula car, because of course these things don't have headlights. And going into the tunnel, inexplicably there's a giant purple glow. I think it's from the hotel near the tunnel entrance, but I'm not sure. I'm having an argument between... that is an Indy car! That's a classic Indy car there, the number 55. We've hit another level of lighting. We're now completely in nighttime. You can see that the cars are lighting up quite beautifully from the lights. They're being shone on rather nicely. And I think even the brakes glowing are giving off a small bit of light, which they would in reality in these kind of situations. But Monaco, not really a track for heavy braking. It's more of a just you're going so, you know, you're going a reasonable speed and you're just slowing down to a low speed. But there's no real high speed section apart from the main straight, and even then, it's not all that high speed. This would be a nice clean lap if, of course, there wasn't a car being held up in front of me by a Formula rookie. It's that is a Lotus 98T by the looks of it. I want to say it's a 98T at least, which I blow by, and the Formula rookie as well. Straight behind a Lotus 49, I want to say. It might be a 25 actually. Looks more like a 49 to me though. But there is a bit of absolutely everything on track right now. Every open wheel car in the game is on track, which makes for some interesting situations where you're trying to overtake the most ridiculous car combinations. That's a 49. And there were some laps where I literally lost 13-14 seconds because I met traffic at the worst places. I did skip that chicane there, the Nouvelle chicane, because I just wasn't going to make it, and it was easier to cut it than to try and like spin around and go backwards along the track. It was a lot safer. So we are probably coming up to about halfway in the race now. And I am in second position. Yeah, we're coming up to about halfway. So we're actually past halfway. We've got 8 minutes left, and it's a 10-minute race. I'm quite happy with how I did. That, I believe, is the race leader ahead of me in the Formula X. Looks like a 1980s Formula 1 car, and it might well be. But you can see that I can corner just a bit faster, but the Formula X does have the advantage along the straights because it's got a turbo. And of course, me being me, I spin, but I kept the throttle in and just did a spin turn or two. And where am I? There I am. Oh no, I killed the engine and ran over somebody. I'm not even sure. Is that a Formula B? Or C? It's a Formula car for sure. That's not a Formula Renault. Don't know what car that even is. Through the lows hairpin once more. And you can see the mess that was the majority of the track was behind me. That just everywhere the slowest cars were parking on apexes, and it's something that in reality in open wheel racing doesn't happen. So a quick rule lesson thing. I don't know what to say about it. In reality, when you are in open wheel racing and you got a blue flag, that means there's a faster car coming. Get out of the way. The earliest opportunity, don't hold them up, because there have been major crashes as a result of that kind of nonsense happening. And literal fist fights. Thank you, Italian German. It was the German Grand Prix, and I can't remember who it was, but there was a very angry driver getting very angry at a pay driver. That's how to do a spin turn. I got a bit angry there because I'd spun and just nailed the throttle to hope for the best. That worked out well. But in reality, you know, you'd have these guys kind of hopping out of the way in the corners, taking corners wide and going off the racing line on the straights. Because, you know, I can blow past pretty easily. In Project Cars, however, they don't do that. I can hear a car ahead of me, which means, yep, we get a good example of what actually happens. So there's a race leader who has been trying to get away from me, being held up by a Formula Ford. Oh, a Formula Ford who was also holding up a Lotus 49, who parked on the apex. Of course he did. And, like, this is one of the major problems, and it happens in all games. It's not Project Cars specific. I've seen it happen in the F1 games, in Assetto Corsa, in everything. The AI just... Once you start lapping AI, as a human player. Like, it's a bit odd in Project Cars that's affecting the AI as well, but that's because they're running effectively GT blue flag rules, which means that the overtaking car has to get past, as opposed to the car that's getting past having to let them by. But it's a thing in racing games, and it's really frustrating to see it constantly, where the AI just doesn't recognize that the player is there when they're trying to lap people. So you will lose 5, 6, 7 seconds behind an AI, and if you've got an AI on your tail, you're going to have to be blocking the AI that's trying to pass you while you're trying to get past the guy who's 3 seconds a lap slower. And it is just infuriating, because it's artificial difficulty that shouldn't be there, because the AIs should be coded a bit better to say, okay, well, if there's a blue flag, treat it as if you're on a cooldown lap in qualifying, get out of the way. You know, just slow down, go off the racing line, get out the way, and then afterwards, once the player's like a second or two ahead, okay, then you're good to go again at full race speed. But that's not what happens. What happens is the AI effectively just have a coded racing line, and that's what they follow. And it's why the AI in Project Cars seems to have such a problem overtaking and lapping people, especially around Monaco, where there is effectively just one racing line. Like, I'm having to make some really weird lines up as I'm going along and going around to try and get past the AI, but only in certain corners, because it's not possible in others. Like, there, I had to slow down to a crawl because otherwise I would have crashed. And I'm doing my best to not crash, by the way, as much as I have been hitting things and crashing and bashing about. But I'm slowing down. I'm losing 10 to 11 seconds a lap from these situations where the AI is just taking the wrong line around the corners, and it's really annoying. Now, granted, in reality you wouldn't have that situation in a Formula Renault, but it shouldn't be a situation that happens to begin with in the game, because maybe you run, you know, especially if you're running under a rule set that says open wheel racing, because that's the rule set I chose at the start when I was setting up the race. It's something that SMS should have seen coming, but somehow didn't. You can see the lighting just flickered. It is coming up to dawn now, as a Formula rookie gets completely stuck. The tunnel, by the way, in this game is incredibly slippery. I found myself having to come off the throttle in like 4th gear when in Formula 1 cars, granted, I was just using the loose fast setup, which probably didn't have enough downforce. In reality, a Formula 1 car would be going through there flat out, no lifting, no coasting, no anything. I probably could have done it if I'd thrown some more downforce in the car and, you know, made a custom setup, but I couldn't be bothered. Granted, this was the second time. The first time I'd accidentally loaded a custom setup that had a really weird gear ratio that basically meant I had to go from 1st to 5th to get any sort of acceleration, and this is a 60-gear car, so my speed maxed out at 158 kilometers an hour, which was not at all fast. There's a Lotus 72. Or is that a 70? I'm not even sure what Lotus that is. I think it's... oh, that's an early generation 72. But you can see the problems that I'm having trying to get past. Yes, there I went wide, and oh no, there's a Formula Renault ahead of me, which means that it's like, it should be going the same speed. The AI is set to about 60%. I always find that's good for a good race. Unfortunately, because this track causes so many problems with the different classes, which maybe I should have thought I had not done this, but because it causes so many problems, because the AI just can't overtake each other, because they're seemingly pre-programmed to take one of 3 lines, maybe 4 or 5, through a corner, it just becomes a situation where I can do stupid things like this, and just pass 3 AIs, one of which is already crashing. Now it's dawn! How's that for a jarring time jump? It wasn't as jarring in-game, by the way. It was a lot more gradual. Just seems like the replays are a bit weird and don't like showing the gradual changing of time and just have like pre-programmed stuff. Except the shadows are moving. Interesting. Yeah, the shadows are moving as you can see the time passing. That's really actually quite a nice bit of detail I've just noticed. So there is kind of a sun generation thing in this, but the sun has taken over from the... I think I've actually finished at this point. The sun has taken over, and judging by my speed, the race is over. I can now reveal that the results were a win. By 50 odd seconds. I think it ended up being like 30 something, but this is the cooldown lap, which Project Cars does allow you to do. It's really nice. Gives me time to talk after the race. It was a fun race, roughly speaking. I mean, the AI issues were a problem, and were frustrating, but it's not something that I think is an actual issue with the game, because it's me doing a stupid thing that you should never do. By the way, I did accidentally kill the engine going down through the nose hairpin there. Well, that is going to do it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's not what you might be used to on the channel, but hey, it's my channel. I'm going to do what I want. Back probably next week with some more Project Cars or something else that's fast. I like doing fast things. Gives me an excuse to play these games, and yeah, just lets me have a bit of fun and do something that I want to do on the channel. And suddenly it's the middle of the day. But I will be back probably next week with some more fast stuff. We'll return to your normally scheduled slow things tomorrow-ish. But until then, stay safe and goodbye.